Hello everyone, I am Kadiravana and I'll try and explain this paper on the behalf of my team. The topic of our paper is Bayes-Nash equilibrium in first price auctions with discrete value distributions. I might be going a little bit fast because there's a lot to cover. Please pardon me with that. I will attach this slide deck along with the video if needed. Uh, so um, so as the topic suggests, we are trying to find the Bayes-Nash equilibrium in the first price auction setting, where the value distributions of the players are discrete. So let's quickly go through our first price auction setting. There's a seller. There is no private information. There is one item for sale, and there are n potential buyers. Every buyer has a private value for the item. The private value for each buyer is drawn from a publicly known value distribution, which is discrete. So this is the most important one. So the value distribution is discrete in this case, and our so let the value support of buyer I be a set of possible values for buyer I, and without any loss of generality, we shall assume that the values in the value support for buyer I are arranged in an increasing manner, and that each value is greater than 0. Let us define Gi as the CDF for the value distribution for player I, and capital Fi to be the CDF for the bid distribution of player I. So they are two different terms. A quick look at the assumptions. We are assuming that the buyers have quasi-linear utilities, and also that the buyers are strategic and therefore they won't overbid because they want positive utility, and that the bidders have to bid at least a non-zero value, not non-zero, positive. The bidders have to at least bid a non-negative value, and the bids are placed simultaneously. So in the first price auctions, as known, the winner is the one who bids the highest value, and he pays his own bid. So our strategy should be giving for any value I. Strategy gives a set of possible bids for player I, and capital SI will be union of all those strategies for each of those values of a particular player. Now the intuition of a Bayes-Nash equilibrium is that at equilibrium, if a set of strategies are recommended, then unilateral deviation from by any player will not help the player in expected sense. Like in his expected utility on unilaterally deviating will not help him increase his utility. At best, he will retain his utility. In the continuous case, the strategy maps each buyer's value to a single bid, whereas in the discrete case, it maps each buyer's value to a set of bids, and the bidder randomizes in this set according to a probability function. So our objective is to compute Bayes-Nash equilibrium for our setting, which would mean that we want to compute for each possible value of player I, we want to compute the set of bids that player I will have to bid, and the corresponding probability distribution function. Generally what we do if there is a tie between two bidders is that we allocate the item randomly, but it turns out that in the discrete value distribution case, for Bayes-Nash equilibrium to exist, always we will have to change that because it could cease to exist, and therefore we have added a new rule that if there is the new tie breaking rule says that if ties are the ties are broken by running a vicary auction among the highest bidders. So vicary auction will let the bidder know or the seller know the true valuation of the bidders, and the one who has the highest who valued the object the highest will get the bid in case of a tie. Now given the strategies, let's get to know the notion of a winning bid. So winning bid is defined as, given the strategies of all bidders, if any buyer can win the object with a certain probability by bidding B, then B is called the winning bid. Let us see the notion of minimum winning bid. We want to find the minimum winning bid such that there is a buyer or bidder who can win the the item on placing bid B. So, so the lemma 1 states that assume that buyer I star has the largest smallest value, that is among the smallest values the largest one. So, we have defined Vi star 1 as max over j Vj1. Recall that in our support of our values of player I, we had arranged the values in an increasing fashion, and therefore the largest smallest value can be written in this fashion. Then we want to compute the minimum winning bid, and the minimum winning bid is computed by this equation by trying to find the R max over B over this term. So, we want to find a B that maximizes this term. If you see carefully, this term is the utility of I star on placing bid B, and we want to maximize this. So, yeah, the smallest bid so there are two properties. So, one thing is that the smallest bid placed by player I star will be exactly B minimum, that is the smallest bid. Why? Because one is that B minimum has to be greater than the smallest bid of at least one of the bidders. If it is not, then there will be no incentive for all other bidders to any bidder to bid B minimum, because B minimum is a losing bid, and also that B minimum has to be less than Vi star 1, otherwise this utility will be negative, and therefore the smallest bid by player I star will be exactly B minimum. Okay. Now, let us see an example to compute B minimum. Let us take this example where there are 4 buyers and we are given the CDFs for the value distribution. So, G1x, G2x, G3x, G4x correspond to the value distributions for player 1, 2, 3 and 4, and these x values in this piecewise defined CDFs correspond to the players possible values. In this case, for player 1 the possible values being 2, 10 and 20. So, listing down the possible values for the value support for each of these players, we get this. So, we want to find the largest smallest value, and therefore the largest smallest value from this should be argmax over Vj1. So, that would be the max over 2, 1, 9 and 1, which would be 9, and therefore our I star is 3, V31 is 9. Now, we want to find a bid B less than V31, that is going to maximize my probability, the utility of I star bidding B minimum. So, on computing, if so, the only possible bids less than Vi star 1 are V1 1, V2 1 and V4 1, and therefore on computing their expected utility for player V3, we get these values. Clearly, on bidding 2, the expected utility for player 3 is the highest, and therefore B minimum for this case is 2. Lemma 2. So, lemma 2 states that at Base-Nash equilibrium, for any winning bid B, there are at least 2 players I and J such that B is in Si and B is in Sj. So, intuitively we can understand that. So, note that we are talking this is at Base-Nash equilibrium. So, if there is no bidder who bids B with some probability, then player I has the incentive to bid B minus epsilon and increase utility. So, if Base-Nash equilibrium does exist, then there has to be a competitor to player I, otherwise it won't exist, and therefore B should be in Si and also in Sj, such that J is not I, that is not the same player, is a unique player that is having B in his own strategy. Lemma 3. For any buyer I, there is no mass point above B minimum in buyer I's distribution. This simply implies that that a buyer I would not give a particular bid positive probability of winning when that bid is larger than the minimum winning bid. So, what we mean by this is that as we said that if the bidder is, so as you said, the strategies are in the discrete value setting is giving you a set of possible bids. So, if your bid is above the minimum or value is above the minimum winning bid, then you won't assign a winning probability to a particular bid. So you want to randomize. That's what this means. So that's what it means. Mass points won't be existing for values greater than b. There is no mass point. Lemma 4, important, talking about the monotonicity. It talks about the monotonicity. It says that for each buyer, his bidding strategy is monotone in value. That means as the value increases, the strategy or the bid set interval or the bid sets interval increases. Meaning that, so the maximum SIVIJ, recall that our value support was arranged in increasing order of the values of player I. So maximum bid of SIVIJ should be less than or equal to the minimum bid of the SIVIJ of j plus 1. J plus 1 is the consecutive possible value of player I. If all this is valid, if Vij is greater than the minimum winning bid. Okay, so now we want to compute the BNE. That was our goal. We have computed B minimum using lemma 1. For the computation of bid distributions Fi, we will need to know the B maximum as well. So we will need to know the maximum bid that any player would play to any player, at maximum bid that any player would pay. Unfortunately, there is no straightforward method for computation of B maximum, like we had for that of B minimum in lemma 1. So the way we are going to do the way we are going to solve this problem is by starting with an initial guess for B maximum, and then computing our way down from from the B maximum. We will compute all the bidding strategies way down to B minimum. So if our stopping criterion, or when do we say we have reached the Base-Nash equilibrium, will be that if the corresponding B minimum of a guessed B maximum is equal to the actual B minimum computed by lemma 1, then the set of the set of strategies and probability distributions are said to be Base-Nash equilibrium. So this kind of method of starting from the top and coming downwards is these kinds of algorithms come under the category of backward shooting. So let's see them. Let's see this algorithm. So algorithm 1 proposed in the paper is the backward shooting algorithm. So the input is buyer's value distribution Gi, and the output is buyer's bid distributions Fi. So we want to compute the smallest winning bid B minimum using lemma 1. We will initialize the upper bound for bid B maximum to some value and to maximum of this support of Gi, and lower bound to 0. Now while some exit condition is not met, so this exit condition could be either this, that B minimum of B maximum is equal to B minimum, which would mean that the corresponding B minimum given the guess B maximum is the actual B minimum, then we have reached BNE. Or it could also be that the difference between UB and LB is very small. So these two conditions are equivalent. So this algorithm basically is like the binary search. You compute Fi all the way down from B maximum to the corresponding smallest winning bid B minimum of B maximum, and then if B minimum of B maximum is greater than B minimum, set the upper bound of B maximum to B maximum, else you set it to, and keep going until you actually computed B minimum of B maximum as the actual B minimum. Now it's very nice that we understood algorithm 1, but how do we compute B minimum of B maximum? Because that is the main part of algorithm 1, that is the core of algorithm 1. In the continuous case, the computation of B minimum of B maximum is done using differential equations, but such a methodology does not work in the discrete case. So for the computation of B minimum of B maximum in the discrete case, the paper introduces some new structures in the Base-Nash equilibrium, which we will see. One of the structures, the first structure, the most important structures is bidding set and waiting list. So the paper introduces this structure of the bidding set, which means that the set of buyers whose bidding strategies include bid X is called the bidding set, denoted by lambda x or capital lambda x. That is, capital lambda x is all I such that x belongs to Si. So lambda x, so basically let's read it again. The set of buyers whose bidding strategies include bid X is called the bidding set. That is, X belongs to strategy. So the bid X is in some strategy of player I, right? And the waiting set are those buyers who do not have X in their strategies. So it is just n minus lambda x. It's called the waiting list at bid X. Let us define the cumulative bid distribution to be the product of all the CDFs of the bid distributions of player I in the bidding set. Okay, very important theorem. Theorem 1 states that suppose capital lambda x does not change in bid interval B1 to B2, that is, the bidding set does not change from B1 to B2 in the bid interval B1 to B2, and VIX is constant. So VIX, let me just introduce VIX. VIX represents the value of player I when he bids X in equilibrium. Okay, what is the value of player I when he bids X? If it is constant in the bidding interval B1 to B2, then the bid distribution of every buyer lambda is differentiable in B1 to B2. For any X belonging to B1 to B2, we have that small FIX by capital FIX equal to H of X, where FIX is actually representing the probability density function for bidder I, and capital FIX is representing the cumulative density function for bidder I, and HIX is as defined here. It is 1 upon the cardinality of lambda x minus 1 into summation over j 1 upon Vj minus x minus 1 upon Vi minus x. So there is a proof for this theorem. It is quite simple. We will quickly go through it. So so the utility of player I at Vi is Vi minus x times the probability that other players do not bid X. So what are the other players? The other players are those who are not in, or basically those who are in the waiting list, and those who are in the bidding set other than himself. So that is f n lambda x times f lambda minus I x. So n minus lambda x times f lambda minus I x. So buyers in the waiting list do not bid in the interval B1 to B2, so we can just write f n minus lambda x as capital F n minus lambda B1. So also note that so equation 2, suppose we do a product for equation 2, product of for amongst the players in the bidding set, then it would be pi I belong to lambda ui vi is equal to product I belong to lambda Vi minus x. Note that we have computed f n minus lambda x to be f n minus lambda of B1, and since this is done lambda times this is power mod lambda, and this is a constant, and also f lambda. Now this term comes from here. It is talking about so pi I belongs to lambda f lambda minus I x is what is, so this is basically the multiplication of the cumulative CDFs of the buyer's bid distribution with each buyer appearing only lambda minus 1 times, mod of lambda minus 1 times, and hence this expression. So this, after rearrange this equation, you get capital FIX has to be this, and on differentiating the CDF you get that FIX is this, and therefore this relation FIX is equal to HIX times capital FIX. This is very important relation, and this will be is the basis for computation of the probability density function. Theorem 2 which is very similar to lemma 3, which said that there won't be any point mass above the minimum winning bid. Theorem 2 states that SIVIJ is an interval when Vij is greater than or equal to B minimum. So, he says that it is an it says that it is an interval and not a single value. Now, recall that this is all towards the build up of computation of B minimum of B maximum. That is what we are looking for. We want to compute B minimum of B maximum. We are going towards there. Now that we have seen the definition of the bidding set lambda x, we shall see a new definition lambda plus x and lambda minus x. When the bidding set changes at x, we use lambda plus x and lambda minus x to denote the buyers who bid in the upper neighborhood and lower neighborhood around x. Okay. So, let us go back to our running example. So, if you remember, these were the CDFs of the respective players 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the probability density functions for F1, F2, F3 and F4 computed using theorem 1. So, this figure is trying to depict all the information of our game. So, if you see along the horizontal axis is the horizontal axis displays the players I equal to 1, I equal to 2, I equal to 3 and I equal to 4. The leftmost vertical axis tries to depict the bid intervals starting from the maximum bid to the minimum bid, that is 9 to 1, and the digits in front of each of the players curly brackets depict the value that player I has while bidding in that bid interval. So, for example, player 1 bids in the interval 6 to 9 when his value is 20 with certain probability density function as described by Fix, in this case as described by F1x. Now, to quickly get a very quick understanding of what we defined, so we want to find we can find lambda brackets depict the value that player I has while bidding in that bid interval. So, for example, player 1 bids in the interval 6 to 9 when his value is 20 with certain probability density function as described by Fix, in this case as described by F1x. Now, to quickly get a very quick understanding of what we defined, so we want to find we can find lambda of 8.5. Lambda 8.5 is basically, according to definition, I such that 8.5 is in strategy of I, which would mean that lambda of 8.5 is 1 comma 3. From this figure you can clearly see lambda plus 6 is basically this definition, and if you see the figure, it should be all the bidders 1, 2 and 4. Similarly, lambda minus 6 should be players who are bidding in the lower neighborhood of 6. Those players who have the lower neighborhood of 6 as a part of the strategy, and their players 1, 2 and 3. And the waiting list at 8.5 should just be n minus lambda of 8.5, which is 2 comma 4. Now, if you notice carefully, that lambda x changes if the bidding interval Si Vij either starts or ends at x. So, if there is any bidder whose bidding interval either starts or ends at x, then lambda x will change, otherwise it won't. So, to compute the changes in the bidding set, it is sufficient to compute the starting and ending points of Si Vij. Now, since our whole algorithm is on this strategy of backward shooting category, we shall analyze the bids from the maximum possible bid to the minimum possible bid. So, we are coming from we are trying first remember we are first guessing B maximum, and then we are trying to come down our way to B minimum. So, when do we say that a buyer enters or exits a bidding set. Technically, we say a buyer enters the bid set with value vi at bid x if x is equal to maximum of si of vi. That is, x is the maximum bid among in the strategy with valuation vi. And similarly, we say a buyer leaves the bidding set if x is the minimum bid x is the minimum bid in the strategy for valuation vi. Right. So that could be seen through this figure. Right. Entering the bid, also it is important to know that entering the bidding set with value I at x is not the same as saying that I is not in lambda plus x and I is in lambda minus x. Sorry, for this should be not belongs to. And so why? Because at lambda x since the bidder might leave the bid set at x with some value vij and enter it with another value vij minus 1, his value has changed and the bidding set has changed, but his entry and exit points have not. So these two are not necessarily equivalent. So lemma 5 is about the entry and exit points of lambda. If buyer I with value vi enters the bidding set at b, then we have these inequalities. The first inequality, so if we recognize this is basically hix less than equal to 0, this is basically hix greater than equal to 0. The first inequality is because buyer I should not have any extra incentive to bid b plus epsilon. And the second inequality is because of theorem 1. We know in theorem 1 that fix is equal to hix times capital Fix, where small fix is the PDF, and we know capital Fix is positive. We know that small fix should be positive, and therefore capital Hix should be positive. That is this one. We'll also define a virtual value phi star x, which is just as defined here. So theorem 3 states that phi star x strictly decreases with respect to x. Theorem 4 is the basis for our will be the basis for our algorithms. Suppose buyer I has the largest unconsumed value vi in the waiting list. He will enter the bidding set immediately when either one of the following two conditions is satisfied. Either that the cardinality of the bidding set is less than or equal to 1, and that he bids or he values more than the bid, he values more than x, vi is greater than x, or hix is greater than or equal to 0 and vi is greater than x. One of these two have to be one of these two conditions have to be satisfied for buyer I with largest unconsumed value vi to enter the bidding set at x. So theorem 5 says, so we are building upon computation of b minimum of b maximum. So theorem 4 described about who will enter lambda x. Now we are going to theorem 5 will describe when to exit lambda x. Buyer I with value vik leaves the bidding set at x when the cumulative probability of the bidding set equals the probability of the value, that is the probability of max of si vik minus fix is equal to gi vik minus gi vik minus 1. Basically the cumulative probability of the bidding set should be equal to the probability of the value itself, and that could be seen that can be seen in this diagram. So these bids are exiting at these values x, 6, 8, 2 because their probabilities have been consumed or exhausted. Their cumulative probabilities have been consumed for that particular value. Okay, so this is a very simple example. Let us consider S1 of 20. Okay, so S1 of 20. So S1 of 20, F1x, we saw F1x was computed there. So F19 minus F16 will give us the cumulative probability. Will give us the cumulative probability of the bid set. Which will be 1 minus 11 by 24 times root over 7 by 3. Turns out to be the same as that of simple example to theorem 5. Okay. Uh, so now uh, let us see. So we had that lambda plus x is 1 2 4, right? Also we had v1 is 20, v2 is 14. So v1 is 20, v2 is 14, and v4 is 12, right? At 6, because all of them have consumed their probabilities, respective probabilities for that valuation, they all exit and they all come to the waiting list, and our bidding set is empty at bid equal to 6, and therefore we have depicted here lambda 6 is equal to empty and waiting list is 1 2 3 4. Their corresponding available values are now remember that we are going from top to bottom, so their available values will now be 10 13 and 9 and 1, corresponding 10 13 9 and 1. So theorem 5 talks about entering with the largest unconsumed value. So we have to start with the largest unconsumed value. So this is largest unconsumed values of player 2. So buyer 2 has the largest valuation. Using theorem 4, we can add bidder 2 to the bidding set at 6, because the condition was either the cardinality should be less than equal to 1 and his value should be greater than x, which is satisfied, and therefore we have brought him. Now the bidding set is updated, we have bidder 2 and the waiting list does not have bidder 2. Similarly, we also add player 1 because he again satisfied the first condition in theorem 4. Now the waiting list is has only 2 bidders, 3 and 4. Now for player 3, condition 1 does not apply because cardinality of the bidding set has now become 2, but the second condition applies, and therefore he is added to the bid set at x equal to 6. But for player 4, his value is 1, and one of the conditions is that his value should be greater than equal to x, which is not the case, and therefore he will not be added. He will be there in the waiting list, and therefore you can see here that at lambda plus 6, so at lambda minus 6, we have players 10 players with valuations 10 13 and 9 as given by the theorem 4. So now it becomes easy to do the computation of b minimum of b maximum. So our input will be the largest winning bid guess b maximum, and our output will be the winning bid b minimum of b maximum. So we shall initialize initially b to be the guessed b maximum, and lambda b is set to the basically empty set. Now we'll update lambda b using theorem 4, and as long as lambda b is greater than 2 and b is greater than 0, we'll keep updating. We'll predict the next change position b. We'll predict the next change position. So we are starting at point b maximum. So and then we predict the next change position. Again, you do the updation for lambda x of the bidding set, and then keep doing this until your the cardinality of your the cardinality of the bidding set is less than 2, and if it is so, then what you will return is your b minimum of b maximum will be that b will be the corresponding b for the guessed b maximum. So this will help in our algorithm 1, converging our algorithm 1. Now so let us define Pij as ln of gi Vij minus ln of gi Vij minus 1, and let capital epsilon b maximum comma this set Pij denote the set of bidding intervals given by algorithm 2 with a guessed largest bid maximum and distribution g. So theorem 6 states that the extreme points of every bid interval in capital epsilon b maximum Pij is monotone in B. That is, the extreme points increases as B increases. The corollary says that the position b minimum of b maximum where algorithm 2 stops is strictly monotone in B. this analysis is done by the author through the visualization. He has given this example where he shows that if his guessed B maximum was 8.5, then his B minimum computed by algorithm 2 turns out to be 0.35, and whereas the actual B minimum is 2. Similarly, if his guess was at 9.5, his computed B minimum or B minimum of B maximum at this point is 3.76, whereas B minimum is still 2, and therefore you can see that it is monotone in B maximum. As B maximum increases, these increase. Theorem 7 is the continuity of extremum points on changing B maximum. We'll not get into that. So a quick properties of these: if B minimum of B maximum matches the smallest winning bid B minimum, the bidding strategies given by algorithm 2 is a Bayesian-Nash equilibrium. So if B minimum not equal to B minimum of B maximum not equal to B minimum, then the strategies formed do not form a Bayesian-Nash equilibrium. A Bayesian-Nash equilibrium always exists when buyers have discrete value distributions, and buyers with identical bid distributions have identical bidding strategies in the Bayesian-Nash equilibrium. Furthermore, if all buyers have identical value distributions, that is symmetric distributions, the Bayesian-Nash equilibrium is also symmetric. There exists a unique Bayesian-Nash equilibrium when buyers have discrete value distributions. So our algorithm computes the Bayesian-Nash equilibrium of the first price auction by starting with a guess B maximum, and then from there on we come down and we try to find the B minimum of B maximum, and then the termination condition is that the B minimum of the B maximum should be the actual B minimum computed by lemma 1, and algorithm 2 gives us the procedure to compute that. So there is a more so the naive way to predict the change. So one of the key steps in algorithm 2 was to predict the next changing position B prime. So that could be done naively by reducing the bids one by one and checking the bidding set. However, there is a more smart way of doing so, and that would involve there's a more efficient way of computing it. So let the current change point be B. We want to predict the next change point of the bidding set. Let it be B prime. Then let the current change be due to the player I. So there are two possibilities that will lead to a change in the bidding set. Either I enters the bidding set with value Vij, or I exits the bidding set with value Vij. Now, if player I enters the bidding set with B prime, then B prime would have to satisfy the two conditions in theorem 4, that is Vij is greater than or equal to B prime and Hi of B prime is greater than or equal to 0. Since there is no other point between B and B prime, the lambda won't change in that interval B to B prime. It turns out that this is the polynomial equation to be solved to get the appropriate B prime value. What about that is for entry? What about exiting? What if so exiting also will induce a change in lambda at lambda to the bidding set. So player I with value Vij exits the bidding set only when the probability of Vij has been consumed completely, and solving this because of lack of time will not be going through it step by step. So but solving this will require solving this equation. Note that any bidder I could cause the change in the bidding set either by entering or exiting. Therefore, one will have to compute B prime for every player I. And let those B primes be denoted by Bi prime. Then we choose the next changing point B prime to be the max over I Bi prime, the one with the maximum Bi prime. So note that this is maximum because we are noted in the above equation it is maximum because we are coming from top to bottom. So we are computing all these strategies from the maximum bid guessed B maximum to computing B minimum, and therefore we choose the maximum. So to be inclusive of all bidders. So hence to be inclusive of all bidders we need to take maximum, not minimum. Unlike so if you had gone from bottom to top, you have to choose minimum. for updating the bidding set lambda, we first remove the players who are going to leave the bidding set, and then add the players in decreasing order of their unconsumed values. It can be proven that if any bidder j does not enter the bidding set, then no other player will after him. I mean, we know that theorem 4, this is theorem 4 takes in players in order of their highest unconsumed valuation, and therefore this can be trivially proved. So time complexity very so for algorithm 2, each buyer can change the bidding set at most twice, either by entering or exiting at x. So and for each buyer he has di number of valuations, and therefore there are 2 times di 2m times, and there are n such players, and therefore it will be of order O of mn. For algorithm 1, if our lower bound is set to this, and our ub minus lp less than epsilon is the exit condition, then our algorithm is of the order O of mn log L by epsilon. So log L by epsilon is for the binary search, and mn is for computation of b minimum of b maximum. Also there is so algorithm 2 has for the continuous version of the game, continuous distribution version of the game, there is algorithm 2 for b minimum, b maximum for the continuous distribution, value distribution of the game. The paper also shows that this algorithm is more accurate and more precise in computing b minimum of b maximum and the Bese-Nash equilibrium than the continuous algorithm. Thank you.